Welcome, everyone, to the fourth meeting of the 2025 Interim Joint Committee on Education. As usual, please silence your cell phones. If you wish to speak in this meeting, you need to sign up at the sign-up sheet in the back. Please call the roll.
Senator Carroll. Senator Givens. Here. Senator Higdon. Senator Meredith. Here. Senator Neal. Senator Rawlings. Present. Senator Reed. Senator Thomas.
Here.
Senator Titchener. Here. Senator Williams.
Just arrived.
Senator Wilson. Senator Wise. Present. Representative Baker. Here. Representative Banta.
Present.
Representative Bojanowski.
Here.
Representative Bratcher. Representative Brown.
Here.
Representative Emily Callaway.
Present.
Representative Josh Callaway.
Here.
Representative Kleins.
Here.
Representative Decker. Representative Dome.
Present.
Representative Fleming. Representative Grossberg. Representative Grossel. Representative Hale.
Present.
Representative Jackson.
Present.
Representative Massaroni.
Present.
Representative McCool. Representative Payne.
Present.
Representative Proctor.
Present.
Representative Rayburn. Representative Riley.
Here.
Representative Rourks.
Here.
Representative Stalker.
Present.
Representative Thompson. Representative Truitt. Here. Representative Wilner.
Here.
Co-Chair Lewis.
Here.
Co-Chair Tipton.
Here.
And Chair West.
Here. Representative Camille. Okay.
I'm here.
Duly noted that she is present.
Yeah.
We have a quorum. We are duly constituted to conduct business. I'd like to recognize this time Co-Chair Lewis and Co-Chair Tipton. Co-Chair Lewis, do you have any comments? Co-Chair Tipton, do you have any comments?
I just want to let everybody know I'm not trying to be cool today. I did have eye surgery, so still a little sensitive to light, but maybe you can't see my eyes, but I can see you. All right.
Can you rap?
But you're cool even without the sunglasses, correct? Gotcha. Any members have any introductions? Representative Massaroni.
Yes, sir. I see our superintendent for Nelson County Schools here. I would like to welcome him and some of his staff.
They are welcome. Thank you for coming today. Do we have any introductions? Representative Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to welcome Reverend C.B. Akins, former pastor of Bracktown Baptist Church, and Reverend Richard Gaines, pastor of Consolidated Baptist Church, here today at today's meeting. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. You guys are welcome. Thank you for appearing here today. We're seeing no further introductions. We're going to jump right into the meeting. We have a lot to go over today and a lot to discuss. We are actually going to follow the agenda today. And so first up, before we get into that, we do need approval of the minutes. This is a voice vote. Is there a motion for approval of the minutes? We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a second. All those in favor of the minutes say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Minutes are adopted. First up, we have Senator Higdon and his group. If they would move over to the table. They'll be presenting regarding SB 253.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. Have with me today Laura Arnold and Mary Taylor, who have been working with me on this since the beginning, and both of them are very interested in the work they've done over the years with apprenticeships and work ready and work-based learning has been incredible, and I want to thank them, and a lot of others have helped me with this bill also. But this started back last year in October. I was at a KWEB meeting, and we approved teaching and learning pathway as one of the pathways, one of the critical need pathways. and which was very exciting. I had advocated for that, and it was very exciting that teaching and learning, or you could go through we're making the K-Web and those pathways, work-ready scholarship pathways, education would be included. But we find out a little later that it's wasn't quite that simple. There needs to be some adjustments made on how we pay for this. If right now under the work-ready, a student gets part of their dual credits while they're in high school, and they finish up when they go to KCTCS or one of the universities, and they get an associate degree. But with teaching requires a bachelor's degree. So to make this work, we really need to allow them to get enough dual credits, 60 hours of dual credit work, authorize that, so they get that while they're in high school, and then when they go to college, they're ready to go into the teaching program, and they go in with an associate degree. So that's what I know about it. I'm going to turn you over to the experts and let them explain the need for this. And like I said, I'm excited about this program, and I think it will, in a very short time, I think you'll start seeing it taking care of our teacher shortage across the state.
Thank you, Senator Higdon. Good morning.
Identified. How you going? Go ahead.
If you would make sure that green light is on that microphone, please. And state your name for the record before you start, please.
Good morning. I'm Mary Taylor, and I'm with the Kentucky Department of Education's Office of Career and Technical Education. Thank you for the opportunity to address the committee on the crucial topic of a method to combat the teacher shortage with a sustainable pipeline through youth and registered apprenticeship. Adding education as an in-demand sector on the KWIB's list is the first key step of all other sectors, because all other sectors depend on students receiving a quality education. The Work Ready Scholarship covers the expenses for associate's degree for the other in-demand sectors. However, an associate's degree in education without attaining a bachelor's degree and teaching certificate will not help the teacher shortage. The apprenticeship model that I'm here to discuss today will. My role with KDE is to manage the Tech Ready Apprentices for Careers in Kentucky, or TRAC, Youth Apprenticeship Program. Kentucky is a national leader in youth apprenticeship and has seen remarkable success demonstrated by wage data and employee retention through this model. It started in 2013 to streamline and accelerate career and technical education students into registered apprenticeship opportunities. The traditional apprenticeship occupations and the skilled trades were first utilized, but this effective model has grown to incorporate non-traditional occupations such as IT, healthcare, and business. Now we enter into education. This slide is a slide from data from 2024. It's a district survey that was conducted by KDE's Office of Educator Licensure and Effectiveness. The need is critical and demonstrates something different must be done. The 2025 survey closes today, and we will be able to share the updated results soon. Senator Higdon's bill centers around students in the CTE, teaching and learning pathway, that enlightens and exposes students to the education profession. Sorry. These are the courses in the pathway that these students take, and the standards taught in these courses align with the competencies outlined by the United States Department of Labor Teaching Apprenticeship, which is enhanced by hands-on learning the student apprentices receive in being employed by the district. This is the statistics for the current teaching and learning pathway. These statistics demonstrate that there's an interest at the local level by both districts and students. So as you can see, we have 163 districts that currently offer this teaching and learning pathway. We have 88 schools that are offering the pathway, because some districts have more than one high school. And then we have 4,698 students last school year that were concentrators in the pathway, meaning that they've had at least 2 courses. The apprenticeship requires districts to invest in their own talent at a substantial level, both financially and through dedicating staff. Students can enter this pathway as early as a freshman in high school, and if selected for the apprenticeship, they are paid employees of the district as juniors and seniors who are developing lesson plans and leading small group instruction under the observation of a mentor teacher. The model is designed for students to complete the associate's degree upon graduation and then have 2 years remaining at a university education preparation program to complete their teaching degree. This is a notable example of secondary and post-secondary working together to find a solution. These are the current participants in the program, both secondary and post-secondary schools. Grayson County started with the first apprentice in 2019, and 2 of their students have completed the program and are now teachers in their own classrooms. We need more districts to participate in this, and this proposed funding could be the catalyst for gaining additional buy-in by offsetting some of the significant cost. At this time, I will turn the presentation over to Laura Arnold with Nelson County Schools to give a practitioner perspective.
Good morning. I first want to thank Senator Higdon for his many years of service in the state legislature and definitely his passion for public education and public schools. And he has always been a champion for career and technical education. In Nelson County, we've been very fortunate to be able to take advantage of some of the legislation that he has passed over time or worked with you all to pass. And one of those pieces is really how can career and technical education become more accountable to our local communities, and how can we better leverage our local communities, our local funds in partnership with state funds to create more opportunities. And one of the reasons we're able to visit with you today is because we took advantage of some of the past legislation that allowed us to have more ownership of career and technical education. And that led to the development of our teaching and learning pathway, and it's now what we call Lead Nelson. And in the Nelson County Schools, we believe that the future is local. It's local people, it's local places, and local resources that will help us create opportunities for tomorrow. And that is the foundation of our Lead Nelson Teacher Apprenticeship Program. If you look at the slide, you can meet or see our 14 apprentices. In Nelson County, we currently have 7 adult apprentices. That means they have graduated from high school, they are employed full-time for us, and they are partnered with a journeyman teacher who is their mentor and leader through their classroom instruction and interaction with our students. 3 of those adult apprentices were youth apprentices with us last year. That means they were seniors in high school last school year. And during their senior year, they were receiving on-the-job training in addition to completing college-level coursework. The individual in the upper left, I guess it would be in your upper left, is Miss May Wimsett. She is our first graduate of our apprenticeship program, and this year she is teaching at Cox's Creek Elementary, and we are so proud of May and the work that she is doing. So today, we wanted to take the opportunity to share with you what does it look like to create this apprenticeship program locally. And I'm not going to speak to the programs and the nuts and bolts because we have great leaders in Nelson County who are leading this program under the direction of our superintendent, Mr. Bradley, and they're the ones that are making this successful every day. But today, I wanted to talk to you about what does our financial commitment look like to be able to offer this opportunity in our district. So in 2021, Lead Nelson was integrated into the teaching and learning pathway. So that means we were offering some dual credit courses that were connecting our students to our post-secondary partner, Western Kentucky University. And we were doing 3 or 4 dual credit education courses with those students. We currently have a total of 37 students who have chosen to be a part of that teaching and learning pathway this year. And they're being exposed to some dual credit coursework. But then we have 7 young people from this group that have said, I want to commit to Nelson County Schools, and I'm going to do this by pledging to graduate high school with my associate's degree. So we partner with Elizabethtown Community and Technical College to support the associate degree track and the general education core, and then partner with Western Kentucky University to receive the dual credit education coursework. So when these 7 apprentices graduate high school, they will have worked with on-the-job training with an expert teacher. Many of them are working their junior and senior year, in addition to completing 60 college credits. So then when they graduate high school with us, these 7 apprentices will immediately be employed by Nelson County Schools full-time employment to continue their on-the-job training. So think about traditional pre-service teaching. We have a semester of student teaching. In the apprenticeship model, you are starting, if you start as a youth, with on-the-job training as early as freshman, sophomore year of high school, into those 2 years post high school connected to that expert teacher. So with our commitment in Nelson County Schools to lead this program, we have invested since 2021 over $800,000 in this program. So I want to talk to you next, Mary. I'm sorry, I'm having to ask you to click it. I don't know if the slide's projecting or if it's in slide mode, because it doesn't look like it's fully projecting, but I think you all have this in your packets. So you can see, if you look to the column that says youth apprentice cost, this is showing you our investment for on-the-job training. So our youth that work through the apprenticeship model are being paid an hourly rate that aligns with the requirements of the registered apprenticeship model. So we invest around $12,000 for junior and senior work experience. Then we're investing around $6,400 for tuition and dual credit costs. So not only are we having to help cover the dual credit cost, but oftentimes there are different fees related to those courses. For our youth apprentices, then we invest around $19,000. Then you can see the adult apprenticeship costs. So with most of our adult apprentices, this is a 2-year journey after high school. You can see our tuition cost at $6,000 to cover the additional 60 college credit hours required to complete the bachelor's degree, and then the on-the-job training of around $64,000. So to get an apprentice through their journey from freshman year to 2 years out with a bachelor's degree and a teacher certification, we're investing around $85,000 per apprentice. So we wanted to make you aware of that investment from the district, because I think some of the legislation that Senator Higdon proposed last session and will be looking toward proposing next session is really focused at this time around the tuition and dual credit costs. Because as you know, in Kentucky, as Senator Higdon said, for those high demand areas where we have a need for employees, many young people have access to the Work Ready Scholarship, which takes you to that associate degree level. So we're trying to look for opportunities where we can help support the dual credit cost that is associated with our apprentices. So I wanted to provide that overview quickly, and I will turn it back over to Senator Higdon. But again, thank you for your time and your interest in this discussion.
Thank you all. And primarily what this bill does is allow us to use lottery money to fund these programs. Like I said, the Work Ready will provide some of the money, but it doesn't provide all the money to make sure that these students receive that associate degree while they're still in high school. Great program. Nelson County's invested a lot of money in this program to make it work. I've been there. Very, very impressive program. Wes Bradley and his team have done a great job. But every school can't invest those type of resources. So to make this where school districts across the state can get into the apprenticeship program and make this work, it needs to be funded. And last year I filed a bill. The fiscal note was very high, and it went to A&R and died. So this time we're going to make sure that the fiscal note, and part of the problem, the big part of the problem last year, there's a teacher scholarship program, and we made that forgivable where it didn't have to be paid back. And that was about $100 and some million. We won't do that this time, and we'll make it where it's something that affordable. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I'm glad for them to answer any questions.
Thank you, Senator, and thank you for the great presentation today. I'll just warn you, we got a lot to fit in today, so we're gonna We're going to hold this section to 3 questions, and we're going to start out with Representative Payne.
Thank you all for the presentation, and thank you for this program. Ms. Taylor, thank you for helping Henderson County High School being one of those districts that implements our teaching and learning pathway. My question is, in the apprenticeship program, I think one of the best ways to promote quality teachers is to get them in the classroom before they actually become a certified teacher, and this apprenticeship program does that. When we have 63 districts that have a teaching and learning pathway and 3 to 5 that are participating in the apprenticeship program, I know you identified cost as a barrier, but do you see there are other barriers that districts might have to participating in this program, and what could we do to help that?
I think cost is the biggest one. Because the students are interested. I think Laura can speak to their interview process. You want to talk about that?
Yes, so we obviously we start our students in the teaching and learning pathway as freshmen, and then from there they can apply to be a part of the apprenticeship program. But in addition to cost and the overhead, it is a large investment from our staff who help lead this. Because like I said, I think in Nelson County we have some of the smartest people in the state and nation leading some of this work. So the time they put into planning, also the partnership with Western Kentucky University. So we have to have a strong partner who's willing to collaborate with us to create those opportunities.
Representative Tipton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator Higdon, Mary Laura, thank you for your presentation today. Laura, as you know, I've been over to Nelson County and had a chance to visit with you all about your apprenticeship program. I think I was over there the day you kicked this off a few years ago, and I've actually met May. I've been observed her in the classroom at Cox's Creek Elementary, and excited to see her participating. And I think this is a great concept. I talk to school districts all across the state, and universities are trying to figure this out. How can they work this out in their area and make this work? And Senator Higdon, appreciate you bringing this forward. Always very thoughtful in your legislation. I want to point out a couple things in the 253 here, just so people understand. Now, Representative Payne was successful where I wasn't in getting House Bill 193 passed this last session, which clarified a lot of our dual credit, work-ready Kentucky language, but there are still some discrepancies in statute in budget language. Statute says we'll pay up to 1/3. I believe it's the last 2 budgets, we're actually paying 50% of the cost. That's in budget language. That's what we're using. Also, in the number of courses that are available, we have 2 CTE courses per year, and then it says 2 general ed in the junior and senior year. We're actually paying up to 4 general ed. That's based on budget language. So just wanted to point out that we're utilizing some budget language, which is a little more attractive than what's in the statute. Now, Senator Higdon, I served on A&R for 6 years, and I can't get it out of my system. And I just want to point out that when we did the 24 budget, we met with Kia, and one of the conversations we had is right before that there had been some changes to the Pell Scholarship Program, which made more students eligible for Pell. Anybody who's eligible for Pell is automatically eligible for our CAP grant program here in Kentucky, or KTG grant. So that kind of exploded their cost. Now, we were fortunate going into the 24 session that we had a lot of excess lottery dollars, which we were able to use, and we actually backfilled that with some general fund dollars, I believe around $20 million. So I don't want to be a naysayer. I'm just trying to be practical here, that we're going to have to take a hard look at all these programs. Because truthfully, I don't think the lottery revenue is going to keep up with our demand. And the demand's great. So we're just going to have to make some policy decisions in the General Assembly. Are we going to backfill these programs with general fund dollars, or are we going to make some adjustments to the program? So I just want to make you aware that that's out there, that conversation's out there, and we need to work through that. But I appreciate this. I fully support the concept. I think this is a great idea. We just got to figure out how we can pay for it. Thank you.
Thank you. And for the record, I like the glasses.
Representative Camuel.
Oh, thank you. Great presentation, and I love the idea of this. I've got just a quick question. Are the folks who are the apprentices, are they guaranteed jobs each year? That's the first part. The second one is, does it count towards tenure once they start teaching? And do they also start participating in the retirement system?
So I will try to remember all three of those questions and acknowledge those. So payment in the retirement system, our HR director is actually with us today because that has been a conversation that we've had as we think about the future of these individuals and what that needs to look like. So that is definitely on the radar because as you think about a benefit to the employee, that is a long-term benefit. As far as commitment to the employees, I think when any business takes on an apprentice, on our end as the employee, we are saying we want to invest in you and we are being committed to you. But as I think with any employee, that is dependent upon performance and success. But when we bring apprentices on, it is a process to get to that point, and we are sending a message and support that we are investing in you and your future, and we hope you choose to stay in Nelson County.
That's great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator Higdon and guests. I've always known Senator Higdon to be very, very persistent in his bills. So it looks like he's persistent again with this. And just thank you for the great presentation.
Persistence pays, Mr. Chairman.
It does sometimes, that's for sure. Up next, we have on the agenda computer science and AI literacy as a subject.
See if we can get to that. Okay.
Using some computer literacy here, getting this
Yeah, there you go.
PowerPoint set up.
You know, if you can't, if the computer doesn't work during the computer science thing, we're in trouble.
We're doing something wrong.
Just to warn you and give you kind of a roadmap, we're trying to keep this section to about 15 minutes as a whole. So whenever you guys are ready, you can start wherever, and you need to state your name for the record. And before you proceed, make sure your green light's on.
Yes, thank you so much, Chair West. We have a lot of people here, but we will keep it to less than 15 minutes, I promise. My name is Julia Wynn, and I'm the Director of State Government Affairs at code.org. We have a lot of great all-stars in the computer science area in Kentucky here joining me in this presentation today, and they can introduce themselves as we get to their point in the presentation. So just to start us off here, as a reminder, these are kind of the key concepts of computer science. And the important thing to note here is computer science is really about creating with technology and computational thinking. So breaking down a problem in a way that a computer can solve it. And computer science has always been important for students, not just because it teaches them the more technical concepts that they might need for specific careers, but because it teaches them really how the world works. And key skills like problem solving and creativity and collaboration. And but now we have AI. So AI, as everyone knows, is reshaping industries, and it's creating a need for very specific skills like knowledge of AI systems and data and algorithms, but also, you know, almost more importantly, human skills that AI is always going to lack, like the ability to assess the ethics of AI systems and bias. And so computer science is really important in making sure that, you know, every student can get these skills. And when I say every student, you know, I'm not talking about training every student to be an AI engineer. You know, that's not what we're going to be doing, although we definitely will need AI engineers. But it's making sure every student has a foundation in the basics of, you know, what AI is, how it works, its risks, and its benefits. And computer science can definitely help students get these skills because AI is built on computer science. So here on the screen, you can see the CS tree and some of the key concepts of computer science there making up the trunk and leading to understanding of these branches of computer science, which, you know, include AI, cybersecurity, and things like that. So, I know the question's out there, do we need computer science because AI can code? AI can definitely code, but we still need people to understand how to check AI's code and debug AI's code. And the other parts of computer science, like, again, data and algorithms, are even more important than ever before because they help students understand AI systems. And even beyond that, fields like cybersecurity are increasing in demand in the data centers that Kentucky's attracting. We're going to need people to work those jobs. And so computer science is really important to that. And the subject is going to evolve to be less focused on that syntax coding and more on things like, computational thinking and AI literacy. And I believe KDE has a standards update in the works planned for next year that will help with that. And so just to finish up here, Code.org has 10 policies that we support in computer science, and Kentucky has accomplished a lot of them. And if I were to highlight one today, it would just be simply a matter of making computer science at least available at every high school in the state, so students have an option to take it if they want, to help make sure that ultimately every student can have AI literacy. With that, I will turn it over to Monique.
Hello, I'm Monique Rice. I am the Director of Advanced Kentucky's Computer Science Initiatives, along with my colleague, Dr. Sherry McGuffin, who I'm going to let speak in just a second. Wanted to just give you an idea of what Advanced Kentucky has been doing specifically in computer science initiatives. What we've done, we have partnerships with schools in every region of the state, giving us a clear understanding of local needs while coordinating, I can say that word, a statewide effort to grow computer science. We are co-leads of Kentucky's ESEP Alliance. ESEP is expanding computer education participation throughout the states. Myself and Dr. Sean Jackson are the co-leads of the ESEP team. This year we had our first CSTA PD week with funding from CSTA. We worked with elementary school teachers to expand their knowledge in computer science. That included working with robotics, that included working with AI. So we hope to expand and continue working with elementary school teachers in that area. We launched our AI Foundations PD. So AI Foundations is a new course from Code.org that is meant to be an introduction to computer science and artificial intelligence. We trained a few teachers this year, and we're continuing to train them and other teachers. We hope to expand that training so that we have more folks taking advantage of that curriculum. That curriculum is also possible to use, if not specifically for our AI course. It can be used for an introduction to computer science course as a curriculum for that. We also have trained nearly 400 teachers as a Code.org regional partner. So we've been a Code.org regional partner since 2017, and we have been providing training for teachers. This includes teachers who have gone through our Code.org training for CS principals or APCSA, who have earned the approval for computer science. And the ACS lets teachers who are not initially certified in computer science, but certified in another area, to be able to teach anything in the CSIT catalog. Sherry.
Hi, everybody. Dr. Sherry McGuffin. I am Manager of Development and Innovation for Advanced Kentucky. And I just wanted to start this off, and we have this titled What's Next, and that's part of what I do at Advanced Kentucky, is really look at innovative strategies and determine what's next, and particularly in computer science. I spent 22 years in Nelson County, actually, as a math and computer science teacher. And over that course of time, I started out in the classroom as a computer science teacher, and I have seen computer science education evolve. in lots of different ways in Kentucky. We started off with the tech bubble in the mid to late 90s, then we moved into a focus upon coding, and then we moved into the 2010s to the 2020s into cybersecurity and networking and what all is involved in computer science, and there's lots of components. And now we're facing the concept of AI and what to do with AI, specifically as part of computer science education in Kentucky. Computer science education in Kentucky has been around a long time, and it will continue. It's an important concept. But what's next is going to be in conjunction with our partners in Advanced Kentucky to be able to determine what are the next steps and what's next. And some of those from an Advanced Kentucky standpoint is that we want to continue to expand professional development to include AI and cybersecurity specifically. We also want to look at beyond the high school and the CTE component, how we can expand middle school professional development in computer science beyond our partnership with Code.org. Code.org has been a great partner, but we also have some other partners within the state that we want to look at those pre-CTE types of components of computer science and how to get kids ready for that high school pathway. And then working with the Department of Education to deepen the CTE, AI, and cybersecurity pathways. The cybersecurity pathway already exists in our CTE window, and lots of schools are offering that pathway. AI will be offered as a local pathway with Warren County Schools beginning in fall of 2026 with the opening of their new Impact Center. And so deepening the relationships between Advanced Kentucky and our partners to determine what those pathways are going to look like as they develop and as they evolve. And then fourthly, sustaining and scaling computer science at the K-5 level. Again, building that vertical alignment from the bottom up. I mean, from what national partners use, they use the cradle to grave type of scenario, and they use that cradle to grave type of context when looking at all CTE pathways. And we examine that from a computer science standpoint, that we have to involve more elementary school teachers and using computer science in what they already do, not adding on to what they do, but using it in what they already do to make it a seamless component. And then lastly, increasing statewide participation in CS education. As Julia mentioned a few minutes ago, making computer science available to all students so that we don't have holes, we don't have barriers, we don't have places and pockets in Kentucky where kids can't get access to it. We want to make sure that they do have that access. Monique.
So with our partners, with our partners, we are creating a comprehensive ecosystem for computer science, AI, and cybersecurity education. We want to be able to support Kentucky's students. We want to be able to continue to support the teachers and to support Kentucky's future workforce. We strongly believe that computer science as a discipline is something that all students need experience in. And in order to understand AI and cybersecurity, students have to have some foundational problem-solving skills that they would learn through computer science.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I'm Alicia Sells. I'm the CEO of We Lead CS. I'm going to read the room here, knowing that the time is short, and give you a very brief update, offer to meet with any of you that would like more information, and we'll be reaching out to you to do that regardless before the session. We've heard mention of making computer science available to all students in Kentucky, and when the General Assembly passed House Bill 680 in 2022, you did that in creating a virtual computer science career academy, which you funded with a $3 million appropriation in the 24-26 budget. We had our first inaugural year last year, which we think of as the pilot year. We got our funding in July and started teaching in August. We had 68 students in 5 schools. I'm happy to report to you today that we have had phenomenal growth. We've had a 420% increase in schools, moving from 5 to 26 schools in 23 districts. 3 of those are middle schools. And we were really excited that school districts came forward and asked us to do that. We think that this is, school districts are responding to this as well as they are because they can enroll as few as 1 student. Career pathways are difficult to staff. They're also expensive to staff. And so they see this as an alternative to offer dual credit pathways in programming, cybersecurity, network security. We'll add data science next year to that. And so that's what we really hear from school districts is the game changer for them. The game changer in our mind, in our secret sauce, is our employer engagement. Employers drive what we teach, the specialized training that we offer students in things like GitHub, which is how people collaborate on code, and on project management, which is one of the most in-demand skills in Kentucky's workforce. How we prepare students for the workforce with resumes, mock job interviews, the paid work experience that we provide. This fall, an advisory board of Kentucky employers will begin to talk to us about what we need to teach, how we might need to modify our curriculum. They also will give us input into a basic AI literacy course that we will pilot in the spring that will again be available to school districts throughout the state. And then we'll continue to work on our pathways with our partners in data science and cyber. We had around 350 kids enrolled in a cybersecurity course last year in Kentucky. We're working really hard to change those numbers because, as Senator Williams and I have talked about many times, and Senator Nemes, that's a critically important area. So I'm going to stop there and let Dr. Sean Jackson speak.
Thanks. I'm Sean Jackson. I'm with the Office of Education Technology at KDE, and I'm tagged as the K-12 Computer Science Lead. Very briefly, I just want to highlight that the Kentucky Education Technology System for over 30 years has been a broker and pioneer of technology services to our school districts. And we're a broker because we lean on partnerships like the ones represented here today in our computer science space. And since 2020, we've experienced a 14% increase in the number of districts that offer at least one course of computer science to their students. We celebrate that growth every day, but we're not stopping there. We're focused continuously on modernizing student pathways and certifications to create a seamless K-12 learning continuum across the grade spectrum. And we're continuing that effort by modernizing these pathways and the revision of our upcoming Kentucky Academic Standards for Computer Science, which are defining the knowledge and skills that align with these pathway courses. And it goes beyond just basic coding because we know computer science goes beyond basic coding. We emphasize computational thinking, problem solving, the societal impact of technology, cybersecurity, and of course, artificial intelligence, all of which are among the World Economic Forum's top 10 skills of 2025 and beyond. We also recognize that learning thrives through hands-on learning. And Kentucky's premier project-based learning organization, OET's Student Technology Leadership Program, empowers students through project-based learning, including computer science activities, while events like the Hour of Code have provided a simple entry point for learners of all ages to engage in computer science. Additionally, partnerships with organizations like the Technology Student Association and Skills USA help students apply their skills in competitive platforms and events that coincide with their CTE learning. And I'd like to point out that in August 2025, the Kentucky Auditor of Public Accounts reports on KDE stated, the Kentucky Education Technology System, KETS, is highly regarded as a forward-leaning, innovative approach to a statewide school technology. KDE's technology functions are highly regarded by the district superintendents. Since creating KETS in 1992, the Office of Education Technology has strived to be a leader in innovative K-12 education technology with a mindset for continuous improvement. KDE equips school districts with statewide technology systems and services that most other state departments of education do not provide. And one of those services is computer science funding for industry certifications, AP exams, and teacher professional learning. And on a last note, the World Economic Forum has highlighted several fastest growing jobs of 2025 and beyond. Nine of those top 10 are directly related to learning found in computer science and computer science related activities. It is imperative that we continue to provide relevant computer science learning to all students in the Commonwealth so that they can be competitive in the job market of today and the future. And it is a privilege to have partners like those sitting here at the table, partners in our school districts, and passionate educators who provide these opportunities to our students every day. Thank you.
And we can stick around for questions after as well, after the committee. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much, and thank you for being part of a small fraternity of people who know how to read the room. And you
Mr.
kept-
Chairman, I've been doing this a long time. And when there's this many cameras in the room, it's time to just really be brief.
You kept it very tight. All joking aside, this is a very, very important topic that we could have literally spent 2 hours on. It's important to the state of Kentucky. Excellent presentation. We do have we're allowing 2 questions. First up, we have Senator Thomas.
Thank you, Chairman West. And my question is for Dr. Jackson.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Jackson, yesterday I attended the meeting of the Kentucky Association of School Superintendents. And I was on a legislative panel. And I shared with them that I brought to them, as part of my presentation, the purpose of informing them that AI needed to be addressed very seriously in K through 12. I serve on the AI task force along with my colleague Senator Williams here from District 20, and we devoted an entire task force session in July to education, just education. And one of the speakers indicated was asked about where should AI education begin in the school system, and his answer was in kindergarten, that we should start training students as young as 5 years old about the impact of AI. And of course, we should expect by the time they get to high school that students are using AI in their studies and their research and their papers. I attended a UK trustees meeting last week, and I was interested in finding out that UK now offers a degree in AI. That they have a degree specified for AI. So we know that it's important for students to learn it. But my commentary to the superintendents was, what are you doing about teachers? How are we educating teachers to help students use AI in ways that are useful, in ways that are informative, but obviously to avoid issues of plagiarism along the way? So I ask you this, because I know Commissioner Fletcher is taking this issue very seriously. What are you doing to inform and educate and train teachers across Kentucky in public schools about how to monitor and utilize AI?
That's a really great question. We really think about the student side and the workforce development side, saying, hey, we have to prepare them for their future, but maybe we forget about the teacher side. We've not forgotten about that. The Office of Education Technology, we rolled out our artificial intelligence guidance brief to districts. And while it's not policy, what it does is cover some of the thought processes. We really like to think of this in terms of thinking about it just like all emerging technologies. How did we handle when the internet came into classrooms? How did we handle it when devices came into classrooms? And so we've learned some lessons with our prior experience on innovating and integrating technology into the classroom. And so some of those practices is just getting out in front of teachers and saying, give it a shot. Let's use it. Let's have a discussion about it. What are these best practices? And we don't have great answers right now sometimes, but having that discussion and making sure that teachers are participating in the discussion is just as important as having the right answer right now and telling them what to do. Nobody likes to be told what to do, but we have to try to experience it and roll forward because, like we said, project-based learning, experiential learning is valuable learning. Using it in the classroom, teachers are going to learn a lot more than sitting before a professional development sometimes. And so we have to continue to have these discussions rolling forward, and we need to listen to our teachers.
Senator Givens, you'll have to be the last word in this section.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. And I want to start by thanking you, Chairman West, for putting this on the agenda today. This is a topic that I've long had a passion for, as you're well aware. And so thanks for taking time to talk about this very timely, very important issue. If you look at the group here in the room, it's evident to me that we've got the resources here in Kentucky to do an excellent job advancing computer science and the ability to ethically interpret AI and K through 12 is the place to start. I heard my colleague Senator Thomas talk about kindergarten introduction to artificial intelligence. It's the building blocks is what it is. It's those building blocks to coding that are already really being taught in kindergarten already. Processes of you do this before you do this. Those are algorithms, basically, is what they are. And so there's nothing frightening about teaching the building blocks of computer science in those early years. It's a powerful tool. I want to briefly, though, touch on why Kentucky is being left behind. And sadly, Kentucky is being left behind. We all need to be concerned about this. So if we could back up to one of the early slides that was in, I think it was the code.org presentation. The slide title is How Can Kentucky Expand CS Education? John, if you'd move just a little bit to the perfect, thank you. If you look at the boxes 1 through 10 that have the green and the yellow around them, we're checking those boxes, but we're missing a very important box that's causing Kentucky to be left behind. We do not have a graduation requirement like you see on the screen. And we have 10 states currently that have computer science as a graduation requirement. And these are states like Louisiana and Tennessee and Rhode Island and Arkansas and Nebraska, North Carolina. We've got the resources. We know the need is real because we've had this conversation about CS and AI. And it's not about turning everyone into computer scientists. It's really not. It's about critical problem-solving skills that every student needs, whether they become an engineer or they become a doctor or they become a craftsman building or remodeling the Capitol for us. These critical thinking skills are vitally important, and so I'm going to challenge my colleagues, help Kentucky not fall behind by checking that box number 10. If we can make it a graduation requirement, a 14% increase in districts offering it over the last 5 years, that's good, but that's really not good inside of where the world is headed and where the other states are. So thank you for that opportunity.
Thank you, Senator Givens, on that. Thank you so much for your excellent presentation. Obviously, this will not be the last time we talk about this. Hope to see you guys soon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
You're welcome. Up next, we have the Fayette County School District Budget Update with Dr. Demetrius Liggins, Superintendent. So I think it is very brave to come up alone. Are you choosing to do this alone?
Yes, sir, I am.
Good for you, good for you. There's a green light on that microphone there so you can be heard.
Yes, it's on the screen. Yeah. This one? Yep. And then just enter through. All righty, thank you.
Dr. Liggins, I'm going to have you state your name for the record, and then we're going to do a few things, and then I'll prompt you when to get started, okay? So,
all righty. Demetrius Liggins, Superintendent, Fayette County Public Schools.
Thank you so much. We do this whenever there are very, very important matters to come before the committee. So at this time, I'm going to put you under oath today, if you don't mind.
Okay.
If you would raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you so much. I'm going to say a couple comments here before we get started. And the reason you guys are here is JCPS is here all the time, right? And Fayette County hasn't been up here in a while. And the reason they're here today is Fayette County Public Schools are very important to the state of Kentucky. Just like Jefferson County, the reason these are so important is the number of students that you serve. And so, you know, our scores, a lot of Kentucky scores are based on how well JCPS does or how well Fayette County does. And so that's why we're here today. And we're attempting to be, you know, good stewards of state tax dollars. And so this was not intended in any way to pick on Fayette County, but this is basically a forum so we can see, have some transparency, and that all interested legislators have the forum to ask questions, especially those legislators from Fayette County. So I just wanted to start us out with that. And if you could, my goal, if you could try to keep this to about 15 minutes, if you could try to keep that presentation for about 15 minutes, and we're going to try to leave quite a bit of time for questions. So the floor is yours.
All righty. Thank you all so much for the opportunity to be here today. I've had the honor of meeting with many of you individually, and I appreciate the fact that we do have something in common, which is what is in the best interest of the children of the Commonwealth. Allow me to begin by saying this. Much of the criticism surrounding Fayette County Public Schools budgeting process has indeed been warranted. I know and trust that I know that the trust has been shaken by our community, and as superintendent, I take that very seriously. The responsibility for restoring such confidence in our district begins and certainly ends with me. When I was first alerted of the $16 million shortfall, I did not probe deeply enough into the causes, and while increased costs in salaries, supplies, food service, etc., was expected, I certainly realized I should have asked sharper questions. I should have demanded more comprehensive detail to ensure that I had a full understanding. Hindsight, as you know, is always 20/20, and I wish I had done more, and I regret that we are in the position that we're in today. There are countless things that I could say that I wish would have happened, it should have happened, that needed to happen, and I know that. But while those matters are being examined very thoroughly, I want to be clear. I want this to be very clear that in my role as superintendent, I understand that the buck stops with me, and I accept that. And I want you to know that my goal is straightforward. It is to understand exactly what has gone wrong, determine how long it's been occurring, and to take decisive action to ensure that we never find ourselves here again. The working budget that the board will consider next week balances our revenue and our expenses without raising the tax rate and without cutting classroom supports for our students. It's the right approach, but I recognize that the path we took here has created some concern. I also understand that media reports have shaped much of the public conversation. And while those reports highlight part of the story, they do not capture the full context. And unfortunately, since there is an ongoing investigation and pending litigation into much of this, there may be details I cannot share today, but I want to be clear. I support 100% any effort, whether it be internal, external, to uncover what has gone wrong and to ensure it certainly does not happen again. Even during this difficult season, our students continue to show academic gains and progress, and I'm confident that we will come out of this stronger and with tighter systems, and certainly my goal is with renewed trust. So ultimately, my commitment is to restore the trust with you as a legislative body, with our community, and most importantly, with the students and the families that we serve. I want to go through a timeline to just tell you a little bit of how we have gotten here since the beginning. Summer 2021, before I joined the district, the board commissioned an independent review of the district's operations. What that review found was there was not enough staff in the district office to support student achievement. Communication, human resources, and professional learning were all identified as areas where there needed to be considerable investment and change. That school year when I did start, my priority, as you may recall, that was we're in the middle of the pandemic, but somewhat trying to come out. I prioritized having in-person school that year. The first several weeks, we were calling our families each day to let them know that their buses would not run due to shortages in bus drivers. We also had a large shortage in food service employees, and much of the district office, myself included, got our food handlers permits and were on campuses serving lunches to students each day. This was also the year that the board decided to commission a classified salary study because we realized that we were not recruiting the staff that we needed in order to take care of these responsibilities. And this was also the year, although voted on previously, where classified hourly staff were able to bring in 20 years worth of experience, where previously it had been limited to 4. The board also prioritized, as you may recall, the previous superintendent had passed, was passed while still serving in the role. So the board prioritized a succession plan to ensure that there were a system in place to where, should the unfortunate happen, that there was some systems in place for there to be a succession plan. This was also the year we began to create our strategic plan for the coming years. One of the things that I heard loud and clear from our community during the strategic planning process was that we had been having the same conversations for over 20 years, trying to resolve the same issues for over 20 years, and it was recycling back to answering the same questions, looking at the same problems. And it was at that moment that I committed to our community that 20 years from now, that would never be able to be said again. That spring was our budget season. We revamped the budgeting process for the board. It included a lot more stakeholders and a lot more board input. We engaged also in the public with the planning for our ESSER and ARP, which was our federal relief funds, and there was a $26 million investment made into salaries. That included an additional $12 million for hourly employees that raised the minimum wage to $15 an hour to start the following school year, an additional $12.3 million for salaried employees, which was a 3% raise at the time. An additional $2 million was invested for 2 optional work days for teachers who came in on their summer break to prepare for the coming school year. $5.5 million was put in preschool expansion. That included renovating facilities, opening classrooms to hire paraeducators, and limiting class sizes to 15 students. And an additional $1 million was for the first year to fund full-time nurses at every single campus, elementary, middle, and high, and $5.5 million were invested in technology equipment for students and staff, and another $1.5 expanded programs to include Success Academy, which is a program to prevent dropout, the Rise STEM Academy for girls, and Carter G. Woodson. And $2.2 million was determined and invested to address deferred maintenance needs. In the May of 2022, the strategic plan, the New Way Forward strategic plan, began and was adopted by the board, and that included several sessions with thousands of participants who provided feedback to the main challenges, opportunities, and strength of our district. We also incorporated the findings of an external review in district operations, which had happened during the summer of 2021. As part of my entry, I met with every single school principal and district leader. I visited every campus, held regular meetings with employees, family advocates, faith leaders, attended hundreds of meetings with external groups, and including nonprofit organizations. We then developed 3 teams of community leaders, employees, and families and students, and they worked for a period of time to develop what we wanted to be as a strategic plan. In all, there was 132 community meetings, 90 input sessions, and over 17,000 survey responses. The strategic plan was adopted that included 5 priority areas, first being student achievement, another being unity, belonging, and student efficacy, the other focused on highly effective and culturally effective workforce, outreach and engagement, and the final was organizational health and effectiveness. During the 22-23 school year, We opened additional preschool classrooms and really worked on relaunching our first 5 LECs. One of the things that data had shown us that our achievement gap when students got to 3rd grade and carried on, the achievement gap did not begin in the 3rd grade. We realized those same demographics, those same students were also deemed to be not ready for kindergarten when they first entered our schools. And so invested a lot into ensuring that our students received what they needed and our parents have the resources that they needed to be their children's first teachers. We held our first innovative program showcase. We partnered with BCTC that year to offer free dual credit to all FCPS students. We established a Grow Your Own program to recruit and develop new teachers. We launched an employee wellness program at every school, and we passed the 3rd nickel tax as we still had billions of dollars worth of unmet need in our facilities. The board also launched studies for HR, technology, and certified pay at that time, other things that had been identified in our community as needing to be enhanced. The academic data for that year came in. It was the first time that accountability had been done since 2019, prior to the pandemic. And at the elementary level, students were at 48% that had met or exceeded benchmarks in reading and 43% at math. At the middle school for reading, that was 47 and 40 for math. And at the high school, that was 46 for reading and 40 for math. Our 4-year graduation rate at that time was 88.4%, and 2 schools that year were flagged among the lowest 5% in the state. We had 33 schools that were flagged for low achievement for Black students, Hispanic students, students living in poverty, students with special needs, and students that were learning English. We even had 1 school that was labeled as having the same group of students underperforming for more than 5 years. That spring budget season, the board prioritized $28.9 million in raises for staff. It was we were the first district in the state to raise salaries above $50,000 for teachers. The minimum wage for classified staff that year went to $16.17, and all contracted employees received a minimum of 4%. A raise. 1.5 million was invested in fine arts, which included mariachi, orchestra, more instruments. $1.7 million went to outfitting our buses for air conditioning. Nearly $1 million was to enhance early childhood. That included additional classrooms, and 1.6 for more teachers to work directly with our gifted and talented students, special education and multilingual services, and there was an investment in employee wellness that year as well. Moving forward to the 23-24 school year, it was the first year of the significant raises for our employees, and we began attracting more experience and advanced degrees than anticipated and that ever we had done previously. We revised the academic calendar to include professional learning. It also was the first time where we provided professional development for 100% of our staff. It was also the first year where we had full-time nurses at every single campus, and it was the year that our ESSER, which is our COVID relief funds, when those ended. That budget season, that spring, the board prioritized general fund dollars to continue Grow Your Own, improve customer service in HR and technology, and in a school academic college prep program, which was called Advancement via Individual Determination, which we also call AVID. No raise was given that year, but step increases were given. Teachers all received a $250 stipend for classroom supplies. 7 weeks of paid parental leave for employees were implemented that year. There was an adoption of new English language arts and math curriculum, and we expanded our investment in the day treatment for our students who have court-ordered placements, and we invested in startup costs for The Hill, which is our new state-of-the-art CTE center, as well as startup costs for Mary E. Brin, which is the district's 13th middle school. Leading up to the 24-25 school year, we were the only school system in the state of Kentucky that was fully staffed. And again, it was we had the highest levels of experience and advanced degrees with teachers ever in the recorded history. Onboarding of new employees used to take up to 6 weeks, is now taking 3 to 6 days due to the investment made in human resources. There are significant changes in the district for the teaching and learning, which resulted in student achievement increases that outpaced the national average and demonstrated that FCPS students are recouping from the pandemic learning loss faster than their peers. In fact, although we still have yet to reach pre-pandemic levels, studies by Harvard and Stafford shows that Fayette County Public Schools are recovering 2 times faster in reading and 4 times faster in math than the rest of the country. That spring also were historic results on state accountability for Fayette County Public Schools. At the elementary level, it had risen to 52% of students who had met state benchmarks in reading and 47% in math. Middle school was now at 50 for reading and 43 for math. High school was at 50 for reading and 38 for math. Our graduation rate had risen to 92.8%. There was no schools identified or remained in CSI, which again is the lowest 5%. And for the first time in history, there was no schools flagged for low achievement for Black, Hispanic, our students living in poverty. Which brings us to our budget season of 2025. In late fall, as the team was working on the draft budget, they came to me and reported to me that we remain in a solid financial position for 24-25. However, with inflation, they recommended asking all central office departments to look to possibly trim 10% in advance of the coming year. There's no reason to believe there was calls for alarm at that time. The board identified their budget priorities, which was continued investments in Grow Your Own, Dual Credit, and Avid. They prioritized investments in transportations and salaries for our FRISC. When the proposed tentative budget came out in May, it included a projected shortfall of $16 million. Given inflation and the news reports around schools around the country, that did not seem unusual. At the May board meeting, we presented the shortfall to the board, explained that $8.9 million had already been cut from the district's office, and that the board at that time maintained their previous identified priorities in the budget. So in late May, staff brought forth the OLT rate increase recommendation to the board. It was information that a tax attorney had provided to us, and the timeline, et cetera, and it was a mixture of local and state as well as legislation and laws from many, many years ago. And ultimately, it was put forth to move forward. It was certainly against my best judgment, and I wish that we had gone a different route when it came to the OLT, and we ultimately did do that. In June and July, we assembled the Budget Solutions Work Group. That effort was in good faith, and the information shared with them was the same information I had. I heard them loud and clear when they made their priorities, and they stated that the OLT was the last of 10 recommendations that they were making, and they had 9 other solutions that was a priority to those. And I was just as shocked and frustrated as everyone else when I was informed that our carry forward amount was less than anticipated. I then told the team that we needed to find a solution that did not include the OLT, and I tapped 2 outside two people from other departments to investigate exactly what was going on. And that brings us to where we are today. Next week, again, the board will vote on a working budget which balances revenues and expenses while sparing the classroom. And I look forward to the findings of the internal investigation as well as any other investigation that takes place, which I fully support. I will publicly share those findings with everyone and whatever corrective action steps will be taken. I've also reached out to the Community Public Budget Working Solutions Group to invited them to consider long-term solutions to help us identify saving options as well. This slide here, in advance of today's meeting, I was asked to provide information about the beginning balance, revenue, expenses, and ending fund balance for the past 10 years. So if you take a look here on this slide, navy blue bars represent the district's beginning fund balance. The turquoise bar shows the total revenue. The green bar is the total expenses, and the yellow bar is the ending fund balance, which then becomes the beginning fund balance for the next fiscal year. Just a couple of things I want to point out. In fall of 2018 and in fall of 2022, the Board of Education approved recallable nickels, and so you'll see subsequent increases in revenue the next year. Also in 21-22, 22-23, and 23-24, the revenue does include indirect cost payments from federal pandemic relief funds, and that's why those are a bit higher than usual. This next slide talks about SEEK, and it gives our SEEK per pupil. As you know, most of state funding in schools comes from the SEEK program based on a guaranteed based amount approved by the General Assembly. And this just simply goes from the turquoise is the amount that is provided by the local Fayette County taxpayers, whereas the Navy is what is provided by the state. Here, prior to the meeting, I was also asked to provide information about property taxes. This slide shows the total tax rate per 100 of assessed home value. And the first Navy at the very bottom is the nickel that's required to be set aside. The turquoise bar is the facility nickel that our community supported in 2007 at the beginning of the 2018 school year. The next nickel was approved in 2022, and it represents the orange portion, and the green portion represents the required 30-cent SEEK funding, and everything above that is what is unrestricted general funds that enable us to lower class sizes, teachers in enrichment areas like art, music, world language, increased service, and other increased services for students that are either GT, English learners, etc. And here, this slide is an overall budget that is made up of 5 separate funds. As you know, the budget is organized in a way, in large part, depending on the revenue stream, the money at the school district received is earmarked to pay for certain initiatives. On this slide, you'll see those 5 different separate funds, which equal the total fund, therefore the proposed working budget moving forward. This goes into the general fund investments. As you will see on this slide, this is broken down into the services that are provided directly to schools, then our transportation and maintenance, business services, which includes a variety of services to support the operations of the district in general, contingency fund, district administration, and debt services and fund transportation. This includes all expenses in the budget, whether those be contracts, whether those be salaries, whether those be services, utility bills, etc., are all included in this figure. This is salaries alone. Our salaries make up in our budget approximately 85% of our entire budget. And we often say that education is a people business. So not only is it important because of the relationships for the success of our students, that's important, but also takes employees to provide the full services that are necessary for a world-class education. So with 9,000 full-time and part-time employees, we're the second largest employer in Fayette County. Our salaries, again, are about $592.5 million. As you can see on this slide, the vast majority of our employees work each day in our schools. are on our campuses or on our school buses, which is included in that school section. The job of everyone outside of the campus, which is the other 15%, is to remove obstacles for teachers and staff and our students. But let me be clear, 100% of our employees work every single day to ensure that our students achieve at high levels and are prepared to excel in a global society. So at this time, I will entertain any questions you may
Thank you,
have.
Dr. Liggins, for your presentation, and thank you for keeping it brief and being really, really concise with your comments. We have as you can imagine, we have a large grouping of questions today. Point of privilege as chair, I'm going to start us off today. As a lead up to this meeting, I just have to be very honest. I'm very disappointed in what was brought forward. We requested revenue numbers and budget numbers over a 10-year span. Probably pretty easy to get your hands on, and basically the only thing I see in the presentation was, I don't have the slide number, but it's the slide that says general fund working budgets. And so there were a lot of colors and graphs and ranges, but we really were looking for like actual numbers, okay? And so, and by the way, everyone has a copy of the slide presentation in your packets. You also have something that we've provided from OEA. And so this is what I was actually looking for from Fayette County. We received this information from the Office of Education Accountability, and it's just kind of a breakdown of basic numbers, and that's what they just provided you. Okay, so that's in everyone's packets here, and when I ask you questions, I'm going to be referring to that as I start to ask my questions. Okay, and so the top of that section, the first section where it says general fund beginning balance, just important to point out there, your contingency fund in 2024 was $82 million, and within a short period of time, it says $14.8 million. Could you comment on that, and why did that drop so precipitously? And was there no way to plan for that, I guess, if you could comment on that?
For the 2025?
Yes, it shows 2024, the beginning balance of 2024 was $82.5 million, and the ending balance in 2025 was $14.8 million.
Yes, there's multiple reasons for that, and that is actually part of some of the things that's still under investigation. But what I can share is there's a variety of things that happened that impacted that. One being, for example, we've been growing about 250 special education students per year for the last 3 years. And this past year, it was $8.8 million additional that had not been planned. The way that special education is funded is, as of December 1, there's a count that is taken, and those students obviously have to be able to have their services that they need through that school year, although that may not be the number that's actually being serviced. So $8.8 million additional dollars were included for that. We also have had a deficit running in our food service for our students due to the cost of food and services going up and salaries going up, and that is a self-funding enterprise that has not been able to keep up, and so the general fund has had to take care of that. Our preschool costs for transportation has also been a factor that has come in millions of dollars higher than anticipated, and just overall, again, throughout the years, some of the factors associated with inflation really impacted a variety of different things. Everything was adding up to be more than anticipated. In addition to, although we're very pleased to have to be recruiting and able to have the most the most tenured staff and the most experienced staff with the highest degrees we've ever had. That was certainly in the last couple of years been an anomaly, something that was not anticipated. And so the staffing formula also was not anticipated to take the hit that it did.
Thank you. If you'll refer just down below the general fund balance section, the box below that where it says revenues, I just wanted to basically get some information out there to the public. And so that's why I'm kind of going over this, and I'm going to ask you to comment on this. It shows, this is what I was looking for when we made the request. This shows the revenues of the district over a 10-year period going back to 2016. If you look at the column all the way to the left, we see in 16 there's that local component, which is $240 million. And as of today, 2025, that local component is $363 million. And so the state component, the seat component, has been relatively flat. But the reason for that is because that's how the seat formula works, right? The assessed values in Fayette County increased tremendously over this 5 to 10 year period. So if you do the math from 16 to 25, there's been a local tax revenue increase of $123 million. If you just do from the COVID year forward, from 2020, there's been a $70 million increase in just the local component. If you go all the way over to the right, this is the total not on behalf of, which is eliminates the pass-throughs. Okay, so it doesn't include pass-through funds, those sorts of things. So you see kind of the same picture from 2016 to 2025. There was an increase of $140 million. From the COVID period on, there's an increase of $90 million. So the reason I'm bringing this up and asking this question is that Fayette County, the situation Fayette County is in is not because there has been no increase in revenue to the district. It appears there's been pretty significant revenue increases over time. So if you would just comment on that and tell us what you think.
Yes, I agree with the data. It certainly has increased in revenue, and it has been a steady increase. And so again, I'm not sure what, I agree with your assessment.
Thank you. I'll do one final question in this section. It'll be the last page. It says staffing and student membership. And as we were researching for this meeting, this really jumped out at me. So in 2016, the Fayette County student enrollment was 39,678, and the current student enrollment, that's the box all the way to the left, the current student enrollment is 40,763. So over a 10-year period, and feel free to rebut any of this I'm giving you. Feel free to come back at me if you wish. It appears over that 10-year period there was an increase in student enrollment of 1,085 students. Okay, so let's start there. If you move over to the left, that's an entire picture of your staffing. And so it appears you've got a breakdown of teacher, non-teacher, classified, those number of staff. So it appears in that same time period, there's been an increase of 1,092 employees total. Of that, half of that is teacher or teacher's assistants, things of that nature. The other half seems to be administration and staff. And so during that period, we have an employee added for every student that was added. And so could you comment, is it possible that that's part of the problem with the budget, that we could be top heavy with either administration or it appears that the staffing levels appear to be okay on the teacher side, but feel free to comment if you would.
Yes, thank you. Those numbers do exclude pre-kindergarten, by the way. And what is not evident here is the change in demographics that occurred over those years. Our fastest growing population at this time are students that do not speak English as their first language, which requires significant amount of support. Our second fastest student population are special education students, which require significant amount of support and usually have smaller classroom sizes and require more resources to educate. There's also, which isn't noted here obviously, is that staff does include special education, although special education is not included in the student population. And there has been, no question, there has been an increase in administrative staff. Again, as I mentioned earlier, technology has really increased. Individuals in the technology department, individuals in HR has certainly been increased based on studies that was commissioned by the Board of Education. And so looking at the overall budget so far, that does not, certainly does not seem to be, again, we're in the middle of investigation and research of how it got here, but that has not been pointed out as a reason for us to be in the position that we're in. It could certainly, every penny counts and every little amount adds up, of course. So that is something we're certainly looking at, but it does not appear to be the major cause of the deficit or the gap.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm going to open it up to the floor now. So we've got a long list of questions, and we're going to do everything we can to get through that. Just as an announcement, if you're not on this committee and legislator, we're not going to allow questions. Believe me, there's plenty of questions already on this list. So Representative Massaroni is first up.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. After attempting a tax increase that led to a kind of a public backlash, you formed a budget group, working group, in an attempt to get a community buy-in. And that group was apparently provided inaccurate or not enough information. I just was curious how that group was selected.
It was selected in a variety of manners. There were the Chamber of Commerce, which we partnered with, made some recommendations of business leaders that would be on there. There were certain groups in the communities, such as teacher organizations that were included. Students were chosen by principals. We also had a random selector of community members that volunteered that were chosen. So it was a variety of ways to get a well-rounded representation of our community there.
Can I just
Please
ask?
be brief.
Okay. So the group claimed that there wasn't enough information or inaccurate information given to them. Can you give us a little bit of comment on that?
Well, yes, as I mentioned earlier in my presentation, the group was told that there was a $42 million anticipated carry forward, which would be our contingency, or at least our contingency moving forward, which later we found out not to be the case. One of their top recommendations was to take the $16 million gap out of that. And at the time, it was my understanding that that was indeed going to be a viable option. And I've found out a couple of days before I made it public that that was not actually going to be the case. And so we do find ourselves in a position now to where we are able to balance the budget, not in that exact manner, but we're about at 3.9% of contingency, which they had recommended go down to 4%. As a result of that. But it was inaccurate information. My understanding is that it was information that the team thought to be the case at the time that was not the case at the time. And so part of the investigation is seeing, was that indeed the case?
Senator Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, first of all, if I can have a point of privilege, please. You'd asked at the beginning of our meeting for recognition of any visitors. At that time, 2 of the board members of Fayette County had not arrived, but I do want to acknowledge them today. They are here. Miss Amanda Ferguson and Dr. Monica Mundy have entered here. So if they could both stand, I want to recognize 2 of our outstanding Fayette County board members. Amanda, Monica, thank you for being here.
Thank you. Welcome to the committee.
I have one question of Dr. Liggins. But Dr. Liggins, let me begin by, first of all, congratulating you. You've been acknowledged by your peers, the Kentucky Association of School Administrators, as the 2026 Superintendent of the Year.
Thank you.
So my congratulations to you. And I've always felt that one of the highest honors one can receive is being recognized by his or her own peers as having done an outstanding job. So I again congratulate you for that outstanding recognition as State Superintendent of the Year.
Thank you, Senator.
And I just want to highlight some of the reasons why they gave you that award. Okay, they cite first of all that Fayette County, for the first time, had no school requiring comprehensive school improvement. I mean, as many people may or may not know, there are about 140 schools in Fayette County. And to have that kind of accomplishment, no schools identified as comprehensive school improvement, is tremendous. In addition, no schools were marked by Kentucky School Accountability System for low achievement among, and you mentioned this in your presentation, for Black, Hispanic, or economically disadvantaged student populations. That certainly is a first for Fayette County. I also understand that the school superintendents, in giving you an award, acknowledge that the number of students earning industry-recognized certifications that are indicative of career readiness has increased by 6 times under your leadership. And you're just now beginning your 5th year, am I correct?
That is correct,
Okay,
yes, sir.
so in 4 years, you increased the number of industry-recognized certifications by 6 times. That's amazing. Graduation rates have also increased, and the number of students enrolling in at least one college-level course while in high school, and therefore having the distinction of being college-ready, has nearly tripled. Okay. This I found very interesting. The Association of School Superintendents acknowledged that while Fayette County Public Schools only accounts for 6.5% of the total public school population, that almost 1/3, 32% of the state's highest performing students on the SACT came from Fayette County. About 1/3, we produce about 1/3 of the highest producing students on ACT in Kentucky. Okay, and then in light of the questions you've been receiving, I think this is perhaps the most impressive comment. People don't realize that every year you go through an external audit yourself. You get an independent audit of your books. And it's my understanding from the Kentucky Association of School Superintendents that throughout your tenure, you've received perfect external financial audits each and every year for the last 4 years. Am I correct on that?
That is correct, yes, sir.
Okay. So my question now, Dr. Liggins, is this. In your 4 years, you've achieved tremendous success. Now, obviously now there's a bump in the road. So how do you intend to proceed going forward to maintain this outstanding winning record in light of the controversy that you're facing today? What's going to be your strategy or approach?
Well, first is to ensure that the main thing remains the main thing, which is student achievement. I've met with all of my principals and administrators to really talk about letting all of this be something that I'm dealing with and ensuring that they are keeping their focus on kids. And the honor of Superintendent of the Year is indeed most humbling and quite an honor. It is certainly a recognition of the work that's happening in our classrooms and on our campuses every single day. The teachers that we have are exceptionally talented and committed to our students, and we have amazing principals and leadership and a community that supports public education. And so I want to ensure that we continue to have systems in place that ensure that continues on. As far as this financial situation, again, I'm more than anyone wanting to get to the bottom of what occurred and ensuring that we put systems in place to ensure that it doesn't happen again. One of the things that we've already done is I've have both budget and financial services reporting directly to me that occurred within the last 30 days once I found out that the contingency was going to be less than anticipated. Of course, we're looking at other systems to ensure that things are in place where I am much more informed. I'm asking much more poignant questions and direct situations to find out. To have had a crash session in the last 30 days on trying to, competing with career level CPAs and people who've done school finance their entire careers, trying to get as much information as I can, get my hands dirty, getting into our system and looking at things for myself. But my focus, although a great deal of my time now is dealing with the finances, my focus for the rest of my team is to ensure that we continue to keep our focus on student learning, which is indeed what we are all about in our overall mission.
Well, clearly you've done a good job, an excellent job of that over your 4-year tenure. So thank you for that.
Thank you, sir.
Senator Tishner.
Thank you, Chair. And, I think I want to start by just apologizing when I'm getting ready to dump on you, but I appreciate you being here and sitting at that table by yourself, because the buck stops with you. You are the superintendent of one of the largest school districts, not just in the state of Kentucky, but across the nation. And it's a big job. You have 9,000 employees that are dependent on you making good decisions. You have 40,000 students and their families dependent on you making good decisions. And that's a heavy, heavy weight. And so I appreciate that. So if this comes across really, I apologize in advance. I was given 6 months of credit card statements from Fayette County Public Schools that a constituent of mine did an open records request for. Took her about 3 months to access this information. You talk about trying to dig in and find out where some of the expenditures are. The average expense of these credit card statements is $400,000 a month. There's 115 different credit cards, 50 of them issued to the central office employees. The amount of expenditures on there for travel alone is jaw-dropping. I counted August, $127,000 of travel in August, with $52,000 of that at the Galt House. And I thought maybe August is a little abnormal. Got to about $80,000, and then I ran out of time to count because some of the presentations were going on. $80,000 for September. On the purchase orders for reimbursement for yourself, where it says at the top of this page, it's about kids, for your reimbursements alone for travel is $60,000. That's unbelievable. That's truly astonishing. That much travel needs to happen in any school district. I can't imagine. And as I look at those, the average airfare is about $1,000 to travel within the United States. That tells me that's probably first class. $7,000 for a trip to Australia. That's probably first class. These are our taxpayers' dollars that should be spent first and foremost to educate the students in Fayette County schools, not for luxury. It's incredibly disappointing. I would venture to say when we get to the bottom of this audit, we will see a tremendous amount of waste within the district. I'm anxious to see what Allison Ball is able to come up with. I would like to know the question I have, and then I will stop. The question I have: how can you know with fidelity that the expenditures in this are legitimate when you see tens of thousands of dollars going towards Chick-fil-A, axe throwing, tickets for Wicked, ice cream, insane amounts of expenditures for all kinds of random things? How can you ensure to the taxpayers that these expenditures are legitimate for the purposes of educating the students in Fayette County schools?
Thank you, Senator Titchener, for that question. First, I've never flown first class on the district's dime, ever. And so that's simply not true. Another thing is that when it comes to travel, one of the things that we've determined and found that we are unique in Kentucky when it comes to professional learning opportunities. We have found, and our staff, teachers, administrators, et cetera, have found that much of the professional learning and professional development provided in Kentucky really focuses on rural school systems, which is a majority. I don't fault anyone for that, but many of the systems focus on the majority of the school systems that are served. One of the things that we certainly are interested in is ensuring that our students receive the best quality education possible in order to be competitive within the nation. There are many opportunities to really network with other school systems throughout the nation that are similar to us, have similar demographics, or urban centers within their own states that we take advantage of. And so every single trip, if you say, that takes place is scrutinized through that lens. Other probably trips that probably could not have happened, more people went on them than they should have. Absolutely. I will not sit here and say that's not the case. But I will tell you that the goal of any professional learning is to bring back to our district what is necessary in order to ultimately impact students. And one of the trip to Australia, for example, unfortunately, that trip did cost as much as it did because we had a school shooting the day before I was supposed to go. And so I ended up having to rebook a ticket, and it ended up being a last minute change, which cost a whole lot more money. Ultimately tried to get out of the trip, but could not. And that was based off of, it was me and a couple of staff members, as well as it's with the partnership with our Chamber of Commerce, which is called the Global Network Society, that provides opportunities not only with like school systems across the nation, but like school systems across the world that are doing things. In the pandemic, we had realized that the needs for our students when it came to social emotional learning needs, they had truly 71% our counselors were crying out and saying our students are in crisis. And there was a session and a workshop and a variety of experiences that were taking place having to deal with that very topic there, and they had a lot of success. And there were districts across the world, many from the United States, that were there in order to provide input on best practices for that. I welcome Allison Ball, the APA, coming in. I welcome anyone coming in and taking a look and what we're doing, how we can be better efficient and better stewards of tax dollars. One of the things that we have cut this school year is any travel outside for professional learning outside of our school campuses. And I will tell you, though, I do not, leading in a post-pandemic world has truly been unique, and that is one of the things that I hear more often than not. That is one of the focuses of many of the trainings and experiences that I take advantage of, and many of my colleagues as well that work in the district, because it is a unique experience. And so although I come in with a wealth of experiences under my belt, leading in post-pandemic has truly been something that has been challenging in the P-12 education world as a whole, and it's been really helpful to be able to see what places are seeing what they're doing well, how they're overcoming some of the challenges that we're seeing still persist since the pandemic itself.
Can I follow up, please?
Briefly, please.
I just want to make a statement for the citizens of Fayette County who've been following this closely, and really a call to our school board members. Thank you for serving in that role. It's a very hard role, and I would strongly encourage you to be as open and transparent as possible. I realize there was a meeting that was planned for today that's been moved now to a virtual meeting where there is no public comment. I strongly discourage that. As the citizens of Fayette County need to have their voices heard, I would really encourage the board to make sure they're doing everything they can to ensure the utmost transparency, especially in a time when so much is on the line for Fayette County schools. Thank you.
Representative Tipton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Liggins, good to see you today. I want to begin by saying I truly appreciate the relationship that we have had over the last 5 years since you've been superintendent at Fayette County. You've always been very open, and we've had good conversations. I had the opportunity to visit your school district. In 23, we had a visit to Tates Creek Elementary, Tates Creek Middle, and Tates Creek High School, and I appreciate the opportunity to interact with the teachers and the students and see what you're doing there in Fayette County. On the 10-year data document, I've always been fascinated with numbers, so I actually study F1 and F51 balances in my spare time. Now, if you don't know what an F1 balance is, that's what this general fund balance is. It's referred to as an F1 balance. The school meals balance is the F51 balance.
That makes you uncool.
Hey, you got to do what you got to do, Mr. Chairman. But from 16 to 22, there was only 1 year where Fayette County spent more money than they had revenue coming in. But starting in 23, there was a $9 million shortfall. 24 was a $40 million shortfall. And here in 25, there's a $28 million. Basically, over a 3-year period, the school district spent $77 million more dollars than they took in this general fund balance. And, of course, that number's not there for 25. I know it's unaudited. As of right now, it's under 3%. So it looked to me like there was a trend going there. And obviously, that's something I would encourage you to be investigating and looking at going forward. I do have a question. I've learned a lot over the years. And oftentimes we ask, why is there so much money in this general fund balance? But when this fiscal year ends for a school district, you're not receiving revenue for a period of time. SEEK dollars aren't coming in. Property taxes aren't coming in. I know that you're not alone in this. There are school districts that have had to borrow money from KDE to get through till they got more revenue coming in. Do you see any possibility that Fayette County may be in danger of not having enough revenue with this decreased fund balance to get through to the time that you start having revenue coming in?
No, sir. At this time, I do not anticipate that. Again, I am taking advice from those whom work closely with the finances each and every day. So that is not. I've not been informed of that at this time, and I would think I would have if that were a concern.
Mr. Chair, if I could follow up.
Please proceed.
On your property tax rates, of course, as you identified, your property tax rates over the last few years have held steady and actually gone down. A lot of people don't understand how House Bill 44 works. Am I correct that the rate that the board approved took the 4% increase in revenue, which would be the maximum rate allowed by the law without being subject to referendum?
Yes, sir. Although the rate is going down itself due to the increase in property values, It allows 4% additional revenue with the rate to decrease.
I figured that was the case, but I wanted to make sure the public understood that. On the chart that's got the differences in the budgeted and actual revenue, of course, one of the issues that's been up is the proposal for an increase in occupational tax. But in the budget, there was actually an $8.4 million difference between what was actually taken in and what was budgeted. Is that a concern? I mean, is there an understanding of why that took place? I mean, basically, this is based on people's employment, people working. Is that a concern, or do you have any idea what caused that?
Could you ask that again?
Sure.
I catch it.
The 2025 budget called for $54 million in revenue from occupational tax.
Okay.
The actual was $45,566,388, which is a difference of $8.4 million in change. You have any understanding of why that revenue was so much of a shortfall compared to what you budgeted?
And where are you getting these from? That number from?
This is coming from at the top. It says review of Fayette County 24-25 unaudited annual financial report.
Representative Tipton, we need to make sure he has this document.
Okay.
This is in our packets. And
Okay.
He may not have this.
All right. I apologize. We'll get you that.
Okay.
Maybe we can follow up on that. It's on the back page of that at the top.
Yeah, take your time. If he asks a question based on this document, you may not have had a chance to review it.
I do not have an answer for that at this moment, but I can certainly get a copy back.
Okay.
To the committee.
Well, thank you. And again, I appreciate you being here today, and we'll continue to. We want to work with you.
Yes,
because
sir.
we want the students of Fayette County to be successful and the system to be successful. Thank you, Dr.
I
Liggins.
appreciate that. Yes, sir.
Representative Camuel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Superintendent Liggins, thanks for coming and thank you for your presentation. I do have a few questions, and I've actually have several. I've taken some off because I know other people have questions as well. But I do want to state, for transparency purposes, I am employed by Fayette County Public Schools, as is my husband. And so I'm a 16-year employee. My husband's in his 29th year. We are dedicated and deeply dedicated to Fayette County Public Schools and the success of our students. So let me ask you this, Dr. Liggins. Over the past year, do you think you were provided with accurate information about the budget and the looming deficit?
Well, I do know, without revealing too much of the investigation, that the direct answer to that is no.
Okay, thank you. May I?
Please proceed.
Thank you. There are several layers of senior level executives at Fayette County Public Schools. From the list of district executives, who has been the guiding decision maker when it comes to the budget, and who ultimately has veto power? You know, who can say yay or nay, we're going to share this information or not, over the recommendations that get presented to you and ultimately to the board?
There's a variety. I mean, previously there's been a budget department where there's a budget executive director of budget. There's a finance department where the executive director of finance. There's a deputy superintendent that supervised both of those. And so anyone within that chain could have actually and should have been having conversations about our budget situation, getting ultimately to my attention to give to the board.
May I continue, Mr.?
Be brief.
Well, thank you. And I'm sorry, because you said something. There was previously a budget department.
I've moved as a new reorganization. The budget. I've combined the budget and finance department together.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. One more.
Yes.
Thank you.
Along the same lines.
It is. 10 years ago, when we went through another financial crisis, the state auditor made the recommendation that the budget and staffing department should be separated from the financial services department because they serve as a check. And I believe that there are people still who are still part of these departments who know that happened, to take a move against a recommendation from the state auditor.
Well, that decision was made prior to me finding out that we were in this situation, but also there had been an obvious lack of communication between the two, and so it was an attempt to bring the two together to work more closely together.
May I one more?
Need to be the final one here.
All right. Then rather than ask the question, I just have to make a statement then, because I have a lot of concerns about the cash flow problem and what month and what year, everything that you were aware of things. But when we met on June 24th, I shared with you my concern about trust and the breaking of trust with the public. I don't know how you regain the trust. I don't know how you fix the damage that's done to the community. We need the families in Fayette County Public Schools and across the state to have faith and believe in and support our public schools. Because I think everybody in this room knows when public schools do well, not just the community, but the entire state benefits. And I just have extreme concerns over what we're seeing and hearing. There's conflicting information at times coming out. And I've received a lot of feedback from my constituents and others in our community who have lost faith in the leaders in central office. Not about the teachers, it's not about the staff, and it's not about student outcomes. It is the executive leadership in the district. And I don't know how we move forward without rebuilding the trust first. Thank you. I appreciate it.
You wish to comment?
I agree with much of what you said, Representative Camuel. And I, again, as I stated earlier, I feel it's my responsibility as superintendent to ensure that my priority is to begin building that trust. And I will tell you the outcomes of the investigation, I think, and some of the decisions that may come as a result of that will certainly be part of rebuilding that trust. And it'll begin by just simply putting it all out there and letting people know what have occurred and what systems we're putting in place to ensure that we don't find ourselves here again.
We only have
Thank
time
you.
for a
Yes,
few
ma'am.
more questions, so we're nearing the end. I'm going to jump in and ask a question. This is for a senator who had to leave. We have a transportation committee going on at the same time, so several had to leave. But his question pertained to representation on the school board. So 300,000 residents of Fayette County and only 5 school board members. In your opinion, do you think that that's about 60,000 constituents per board member? Do you think that's enough? Should people be added to the school board to give maybe better representation on the board?
Well, not that my opinion matters, but
no, it does matter. We value your opinion.
I certainly do think 60,000 constituents are quite a bit to juggle when comparing ourselves to our local government. I believe they have 15 members, and so I do think it is something to be considered. I haven't given it much thought to have a very solid opinion on it, but there's certainly a model out there that have fewer constituents per representative in our community.
Thank you, Representative Wilner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for being here. Thank you for your presentation, and I'm glad we got to hear about some of the academic successes you're having. That's very exciting. The tricky part, of course, is to have those academic successes and still be good and stewards of the public dollars. And as a former school board member myself, I guess along with our chair, I was really puzzled by when we got to the financial part of the presentation. I was surprised that you didn't have a CFO or your budget director with you. We expect you to be the expert in teaching and learning and to have real solid expertise. And again, as a former school board member, it made me wonder what kind of financial reports are being provided to your board members. If they were as confusing as it would be impossible for them to, I think, accurately monitor. Are they having regular access, getting regular reporting from your CFO or a budget director? Do they have access to those individuals to go in and meet with them privately and ask them questions and clarifications? Or is this a representation of the kind of financial reporting your board members are getting?
Well, last week, I believe, or a couple of weeks ago, each month the board does receive a monthly financial report. And last week we actually, whenever it was, the previous board meeting, we took that report and asked the board for feedback on exactly what it is that they would like to see to make that most useful. And so there will be changes going forward based off of the feedback provided to the board as to what they would like. Prior to that, it just had been for many years, exact same presentation, I imagine, that just had been given. In addition to that, there are we have had board members ask for specific reports that have been provided, and we're currently working on, not only for the board but for the community as a whole, we've had a transparency dashboard since 2022, I believe, where you can go and you can look at our numbers and our figures, but we're also looking at a system that is actually available through Munis, which is the state ERP system that will allow anyone to go in and drill down to the minute of things, whether that be an employee salary or whether that be individual checks that are written to a company. And so we're looking at a variety of those things that we're hoping to implement as early as in the coming weeks to allow a lot more data. As far as access to staff, anytime a staff member would like to meet with a staff member, they simply reach out and ask me to do so. I do have some that have taken advantage of that and some that have not, but that is certainly available. Yes, ma'am.
Just a quick comment.
Please be brief.
Thank you. Thank you for that. I just want to echo how important trust is, and it's not just Fayette County Public Schools, it's all the public schools across Kentucky. When trust is it affects all of us, all of our communities, all of our students. So I'm glad to hear you're on the track to have financial experts presenting to your board members, and I can't emphasize how important this is, that this have trust restored with the community and the state.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
We're nearing the end of our time here today. This should be the last question of the day, and I'll just warn you in advance. It's a tough question. Most of my questions previously regarded actual numbers, digging into the weeds on some numbers and things, but this is more leadership style, I guess you'd say, type question. Do you feel, is there a toxic work environment at home office, Fayette County? Could you comment on that and just give your opinion? I know you probably don't think that there is, but just comment on how are things going at the administrative offices.
That's quite the question.
I tried to warn you.
One of the things that I've done this long enough to realize that usually I get everyone's best behavior in my personal interactions. I get it's rare that I get someone's on their worst day, if you will. And so one of the things that I'm certainly looking into, and that as part of the investigation from updates I've received, is there, I wouldn't call it a toxic environment by any stretch of the imagination, but there is an environment where there's trust, not only and we talked about trust here with the community. I think there's some trust issues that are occurring in the leadership level of the district as well. And so I think that is something that certainly needs to be addressed, and something that is unfortunately has been going on for years and has been a culture that was established, from my understanding, well before my arrival. And so something that certainly I'm, as I become more privy to it, I'm working to ensure that that is instilled. I think the number one way to instill and regain trust is with complete honesty, transparency, as well as facing brutal facts and making sure that we are addressing factual information and people's feelings simultaneously, so that those can make sure that we have the right people in the right seats doing the right jobs on behalf of kids.
Just to be a little bit more precise with my question, do you feel that people are free to express themselves and disagree or?
I will tell you that's something I've had a lot of reflection on, as I found out that there were things that I should have known that did not know. And I pride myself in my leadership style in being open and being someone that anyone can come speak to. And also I have asked several people, am I, in the Wiz, there's I forget her name, but the Wicked Witch, who, she has the song, Nobody Bring Me No Bad News. And so one of my things were, am I presenting myself in that manner? Is that why I'm not receiving information? And I continue to be reflective in that. I like to have the information, all of the information, in order to make the right decisions. Again, many of you have pointed out that I'm the only one sitting here. And so my point is, usually that's going to be the case. And so if I'm saying information, I need to make sure that that information is accurate. And unfortunately, I have been in situations where I'm saying things that I'm later finding out were not necessarily the case. And so all of those things are certainly being looked into. But just personally, again, I try to be as open as I possibly can. But quite often, it's a position where a lot of people feel they need to protect, but that is not the way of doing it by not bringing all the information that's necessary.
Thank you, Dr. Liggins. That's going
Thank
to be
you, Chairman.
Have to be the final word today. Once again, as I stated at the beginning of the meeting, the reason we're here is to protect the best interests of the kids in the Fayette County school system. As your scores go, as Jefferson County scores go, so goes the state of Kentucky. And we're, as legislators, we're very invested in making sure our kids get a high quality education. I'm sure you are too. So once again, I thank you for being here. Thank you for coming up and having the courage to come up alone and handle these questions. I will make the announcement. We've really just scratched the surface on this issue, and so we would reserve future committee meetings as may be needed. So once again, thank you for presenting.
Thank you, Chairman.
Presentation. And do we have any other business to come for this committee? Seeing none, the next Education Committee meeting will be held on October 14th at 11 a.m. Seeing no further business, this meeting is adjourned.